Hello everyone and welcome to another podcast episode here with Hypnotherapy Training International and myself, Idan Oro. And today I would like to put forward to Dr. John Butler sleep issues and how hypnotherapy and self-hypnosis can be of help. Most common issues which I hear and experience to a degree myself regarding sleep issues is that the mind is keep on active and then it's difficult to switch off. So maybe difficult to let go, anxiety, troubles during the day, during life, which are harder to put to one side and just switch off, constant worrying and thoughts and things like that. So Dr. Butler, if you can tell us a little bit about how hypnotherapy, hypnosis, self-hypnosis, and your work and methods can help us fall asleep better and remove some of these obstacles. I know that for doing your courses, it helped me immensely to have an ability to switch off the mind, but I would like to hear more details from you, how it's done.
Sure. Thank you, Idan. Well, you said when you did a course, and I mean, on that course, we weren't aiming to help you with sleep, but it was one of the byproducts of it. People often say that when I came for a session to help me stop smoking, and that was great, that was successful. But I noticed I was sleeping and I was more relaxed afterwards, pretty much ever since, to a degree. And my sleep was better. So they said, how does that work? And I said, well, because you've turned the key in your mind. You've, for the first time, highly activated the autonomic system, much more than you might ever have done in the past, to activate the parasympathetic branch and facilitate that healthy, relaxed interaction you get between sympathetic and parasympathetic that people often interfere with, because the way we live our lives, the stressors in our lives, and well, when we're very young, we usually don't have that problem. We were very naturally able to relax. But even then, you have to acknowledge that some kids are nervous. There's about 20% of kids are highly nervous compared to the other 80%. And a smaller subsection of those find it very difficult. The very difficult children as classified by the mothers, where the easy ones relax, they're calm and so on. Now, we can, whatever our early stage of sleeping was, over the years, we sometimes build up bad sleeping patterns, and it's become a really big issue in society. People getting insufficient amount of sleep and insufficient quality. People often say in the research, well, quality is important, but quantity as well. Absolutely. I have found that the very deepest, fullest forms of relaxation and trance are so beneficial to the body that even when we have less sleep, we can cope. And that's not to say we should give up, give up sleeping or cut it down too much. Anyway, the problem that people bring usually to the hypnotherapist regarding sleep is insomnia. And it's a common problem. Anywhere from 10 to 15% of the population in the US are classified as having insomnia. There's probably another 15% that their sleep could be better. And there's different types of insomnia. The problems may be related to physical issues that can be genetic and other factors involved. People as they're aging, that affects it as well. There are different stages in sleep, and some people are rarely getting properly into the very deepest levels of sleep, to keep it simple. We won't go into that, the technical and scientific side of that at the moment, but they really don't get the full relaxation. They're in a kind of negative stress stage during sleep. Now, other things can interfere with sleep. When we're snoring, waking others up or ourselves up, you get sleep apnea, you've got restless leg, where, the involuntary movements of the leg, and they may not be very large, but sometimes they are. And you can see activity in the limbic system related to that in some people's sleep. When you look at the graph of the sleep, if they go to a sleep clinic and their sleep is monitored over one night, and sometimes over several times, they're monitored to see how the sleep can be improved and work to improve it. And you mentioned there can be worries, fears, anxieties about the marriage, the relationship, finances, health issues. And of course, we can't rule out physical pain and some of the other physical problems that could interfere with sleep. They're within the brain of that individual, and I just touched on a little bit of that earlier. But these usually, certainly from the hypnotherapist point of view, are the minority. The emotional anxiety and depression issues are the biggies. And severe depression can cause a great deal of interruption and interference with sleep. And when they wake up very depressed, that's a danger time for many people, because their mind is coming up with all this particularly subconscious negativity. They feel trapped by it. They don't see a solution to it. And that's where we have to do sufficiently good programming therapy for that, to lift the depression. Sometimes that may require analytical hypnotherapy as opposed to just the best trance, the best suggestions, and even the best self-hypnosis, which can be tremendously helpful, but we may have to work on anxiety and depression at deeper levels, which is something we teach in our hypnotherapy courses as well. So when we look at the majority of them, though, that quality of sleep that isn't quite good enough. And by the way, it can play into other problems that people have. Physical issues they have are made worse through lack of sleep, because obviously our concentration and mental energy, our memories, cognitive function generally is not so good at all once we've begun to lose sleep. And over time, it can become a big problem. And there's a catch-22 that many people, when they wake up and they are, they've only got 3 hours, they're looking at the clock and thinking, oh my God, I'll feel terrible because I know I'm not going to get back to sleep, or I'm afraid I won't, which amounts to almost giving yourself the same suggestion that you won't sleep. And they will struggle and interfere with sleep. And so many then can have the problem of broken sleep, very light sleep, or getting to sleep, as they call it. We often say, I'm going to sleep. Well, you don't go anywhere. You allow sleep to happen. Or in many cases, you don't. You inhibit it. Inhibit going to sleep and inhibit the deeper relaxation. And that can, as I say, that letting go can be associated with different fears, not having control, and in particular, the inability to move forward in your mind when you're asleep from the worries and concerns that maybe just everyday anxieties and worries, but in the anxious person, in the old days, the so-called neurotic person, and we're all a bit neurotic, they hang on to those. So they will lie asleep at night and often have a lot of concerns about what was happening during the day. They have a great ability to go into the past and be negative. They may do it in a very aware way where they're, oh God, that was a terrible mistake. I made a fool of myself at the party or the pub. I shouldn't have said that. I bet everybody thinks I'm an idiot. Or it can go back further, oh, the mistake I made when I was 13 and I stole some money and my family were humiliated in the community. And they can go back and back with all of these regrets, very negative ruminations, catastrophizing, dramatizing. And of course, they can also be anxious about what's going on in their life right now. I'm going to lose my job next month, perhaps, if the rumors are correct. They're downsizing, and I think our department will be cut back, blah, 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 or worrying about the future. And so then our goal is to help the person learn to control the mind, to allow the deeper sleep. We don't go there, we allow it. We must, in one word, relax enough. And often say, if we can substitute for the insomniac the word relaxation, rather than he get himself so wound up about sleep, to know that through the programming we give him in the session, the recording we give him to play at night, the self-hypnosis he learns, he will always have relaxation. And even if at the beginning, he's not allowing the sleep to occur very well, because it can take a bit of time. for the programming to be fully effective, and maybe to work through some of those fears and anxieties that are bugging him. Well, in the meantime, he's going to get great relaxation, which will give him things you don't get in sleep. And very soon he'll be allowing sleep to occur because he won't be interfering with it or sabotaging it even. Now, sleep gives you things relaxation doesn't give. And when we say relaxation, we're not talking about the common or garden version of relaxation. This is an autonomic and limbic system relaxation. We often call it medical relaxation, where you're going from beta to alpha and theta waves. And so the quality of relaxation as well during sleep is really there. It's really, really excellent for health and well-being. So we're getting into our parasympathetic very well, which boosts the mind-body, which helps our performance in life. As the mind-body is working so well, the sleep is improving, it's improving the mind-body. So it's a very positive cycle we're setting up and breaking through that kind of negativity and fear and worry that keeps the problem or going or makes it worse at least. And then the way people label themselves when they have a problem. You know, I've always been a light sleeper. Well, you may have had that pattern. Doesn't mean you were born to be that way. You know, it's not some sort of genetic kind of curse that you're inherited from nature or God has cursed you to be that way. You have an ability to develop the human capacity for sleep and deep relaxation to great levels. And so when you know you can relax and you know you tend to get up at night because of your prostate and you're going to the loo 3 or 4 times, to know that you can relax back into sleep, or even when you're lying awake at night and you haven't quite got to be able to allow the sleep to occur yet, your relaxation isn't quite there, you're still hanging on to fears or they're coming back into your mind from the past, to know that you have this great ally in hypnosis, hypnotic relaxation, the self-hypnosis, and the recording we give people. These are wonderful aids for survival, for helping the mind body. And when you relax enough and release enough of physical tension, your neck, shoulders particularly, when your body is relaxing, your breathing is becoming more kind of parasympathetic, your vasovagal responses are kicking in, sleep is going to happen and you're not interfering with it. So that is key for people to understand at the beginning. When they say, I don't get enough sleep, well, there's nobody giving it out to you and deciding, you know, that you got that person who's doling out sleep is going to give it more to the other guy, not to you. To realize it's something you're doing within yourself, which you need education and training about, skills in it. So skills of deep relaxation for mind and body will allow the sleep and allow you to even deal with deeper conflictual emotional issues. And let's say you also have pain from your arthritis, some medical issues that are, you know, ongoing, that are worrying you as well, to know you can relax so deeply and give yourself good coping suggestions and programming. You will begin to dissipate the anxiety and the tension and stress in your body, and your sleep will correspondingly improve. Allowing sleep, so-called going to sleep, the depth and quality of the sleep, the quantity, they'll all improve. And so we find great results with hypnosis in dealing with insomnia, provided the therapist knows what they're doing. They've been trained properly in the different aspects of hypnosis, with programming, different levels of trance, self-hypnosis properly, and so on. And also be able to deal with the deeper emotional conflicts that might come up, be interfering in the background with sleep with some people, to know that they understand the advanced analytical hypnotherapy, which is a big part of what we teach. Hypnotherapy without understanding and using advanced analytical hypnotherapy is an incomplete system. relying on the programming alone to do it is insufficient. It is wonderful what programming can do if it's done properly. On the other hand, there will be people who absolutely have to deal with some past baggage. And I'm not saying there aren't other ways of dealing with it. And people can be in psychotherapy, but sometimes that ends up being an awful lot of talking and not enough action on the particular problem. And so that can, in some cases, go on too long, creating other problems of depression, dependency. And so hypnotherapy is a very deep form of psychological therapy, the so-called analytical hypnotherapy, that's available when the client needs it, provided the therapist has been properly trained in it. So that's just a bit of an overview of it. Sleep is a very complex phenomenon, and we only understand a certain part of that, how the brain switches the chemicals involved in it, you know, the serotonin and the melatonin and all the rest of them, how they are activating themselves differently, those circadian pathways in the brain, the different areas of brain, which I'm not going to go into, but it's complex, and the human being can interfere with those, or through the hypnotic mind-body control, which is the very essence of hypnosis, that natural ability for sleep can be disinhibited. It can be then developed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Butler. Yeah, I can't attest more than from my personal experience with my fibromyalgia and ME, how difficult it was for me to sleep for many years. And the courses I've done with John, one of the benefits of them is that my sleep has changed. Of course, I then went further and I done a couple of more sessions with him, which were out of this world. But yes, I will leave in the description below details of Dr. Butler, and then you can get in touch with him or go on his course if you'd like and learn more about it. But sleep is so important, and wherever you choose or however you choose to treat it, do look into it and take care of it and take care of yourselves, because we're the only ones really who can, I don't know if the only one who can help ourselves, but it starts with us, and it's important we look into things and do something, try something until we find a solution.
Sorry to jump in there, but just to say, what you're saying is so true, because people will often rely on the medications, which can be great, can be a lifesaver at the time, so to speak, but we can use them in conjunction with the hypnotherapy. But the advantage of hypnotherapy, which is different than the drugs, there are no side effects ever associated with hypnosis that we've discovered. I mean, people say, can you become addicted to hypnosis? Well, it's a very healthy addiction, and nobody's going to go around hypnotizing themselves 24/7. The inner self-regulating mechanisms of our lives and of our minds will actually take care of us in terms of guiding us as to how often and when and where we need to use hypnosis. But there are always some disadvantages to medicines, and the benefits can outweigh the negative effects, so-called side effects, but they are there, and they can sometimes lead to unforeseen consequences if that medication is continued indefinitely, plus the inevitable dependency, so-called addiction. And when we haven't got the medicine, what are you going to do? Stay awake for a few nights, climbing the walls. When you have hypnosis to use for yourself, these problems are minimized. So it's very much self-help in a nutshell, exactly what you're saying there.
Absolutely. And what I like with hypnotherapy as well, you're looking at the root cause of things. Of course, there might be a situation where you have a broken melatonin production pathway, and so maybe it's inevitable you need to supplement something. But for most of the situation I see, it's often just an undealt thing or some trauma we're living with or some burden we're carrying with us, and treating the root cause of these things and facing them as tough as they may be, it just makes all the difference. And so if it's possible, I know we're all at different paths and situation, do reach out and look after yourself and keep on studying, keep on trying to improving. So Dr. Butler, thank you so much for just being there and for doing clinical work for over 40 years and teaching day in, day out for over 30 years and dedicating your life to others. And for those of you who study with Dr. Butler, he's constantly there for people and the results of it. Also, thank you for that. I'm looking forward to reconnecting in another episode. Maybe for those listeners, you can leave a comment in the in the comment section below, and just let us know what you'd like other things to hear from Dr. Butler about hypnotherapy, the mind, because really it's about the mind and taking control of the mind and learning to use it for our advantage. So Dr. Butler, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Idan, and thanks to all who are watching and listening.